national championship. Well-deserved. They are the 10th undefeated champion in women's college basketball history. And look, obviously they were the way better team. Iowa, yes, they had some good role players to help Caitlin Clark like Hannah and Katie Martin. But overall, man, I'm just looking at Caitlin Clark and what she's done for women's basketball. Even though she came up short in the championship game, still dropped a 30-piece, but they lost. But Dawn Staley, she knows what she's doing. She was a great player. She was a first-round pick back in 1991. Look, everything she's been doing for women's basketball has been great. And her first championship was back in 2017, and then she won one in 2022, and then this year, 2024. So shout out to South Carolina. They were the team. Undefeated. They never lost this year. That's crazy. Number 10 team to do that women's basketball. We don't really hear that in men's. The last men's to do it was who? Indiana University back in 76, I believe it was. They had the perfect season. They won it all the way. They even in the championship game at halftime, they were down by 6 or 8 points. And then they ended up battle back. Shout out to IU, but shout out to women's basketball, man. It's taken off. There's a lot of shade, especially for the older women's who really don't play as much anymore, throwing shade to the younger generation coming up, like to Angel Reese, like to Caitlin Clark, like to all these stars that are coming up, like Camila Cardoso from South Carolina. She had a great game, double-double, 17 boards, 13 points in the championship game. She was the X factor. She really was, and she's the difference maker, and really she kind of plays a similar style like Angel Reese. A tall girl, gets a lot of boards, and they didn't have any answer for Camilla. Really, though, and that was the X factor for this game. 17 boards, dude. That is insane. That's insane for a women's college basketball championship game. So, and Caitlin Clark, yes, she does have some stuff to work on her game. Like her defense. A lot of the time she doesn't contest shots. I think over time she'll develop better defense in the WNBA. She'll learn different things like that. But, there's other weaknesses as well, like going to her left hand. She doesn't really like to do that much, to go to her left hand, or she does a pullback. I think Caitlin Clark needs to develop more of a jump shot as well and creating off the dribble. And I think she's going to transition great in the WNBA. I really do. I think she's going to ball out. And we have girls like Diana Taurasi, who's a legend in college basketball in the WNBA, throw some shade at Caitlin Clark and said she wouldn't pick her number 1 overall. She'd pick Paige Beckers number 1. And to me, that's just a little bit of jealousy. Look, obviously, you're from UConn. Paige Beckers is in UConn right now. Obviously, she wants to go with her girl, but at the end of the day, we understand who the best women's college basketball player is right now, and that's Caitlin Clark. As far as I'm concerned, I think she's the best women's basketball player on the planet right now, even though she does have some weaknesses in her game to really revolutionize when she goes to the WNBA, when the Indiana Fever are the number 1 overall pick, just like they were last year. I'm telling you right now, the Indiana Fever are going to be on the map this year. I can't wait. They need to go after Caitlin Clark 100%. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is going to have a crazy offseason. A lot of offers being thrown her way, like Ice Cube, $5 million here. We have Little Dirk come out and said, I'll give her $10 million. There's just so many different things, right, with Caitlin Clark, what she's going to do. But at the end of the day, I think she's going to do the right thing. I think she's obviously going to go to the WNBA. She's going to be the number 1 overall pick, and she's going to change the Indiana Fever, where they were last. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to make it to the playoffs next year. I can't wait. Who knows? She could even run all the way to the ship next year in the WNBA. You just never know. But I think for Caitlin Clark to get Iowa to the championship game is pretty crazy. Even though the back-to-back years they've lost. But let's be honest here. Without Caitlin Clark, Iowa doesn't even make it this far. They lose the first game of the tournament probably. It's just how it goes sometimes. But I think overall what she's done for this sport is amazing. And people who are throwing shade at Caitlin Clark, that's crazy. That's just haters out there. They're just hating. Like Taurasi, she's over here hating on Caitlin Clark, and it's just like, really? Maybe she's hating on her because Caitlin Clark's getting a bag. Caitlin Clark is in the news more than Taurasi was back in, she got drafted, I think, in 05 or 06, back then, and it's just like they weren't throwing up threes like that. Caitlin Clark is literally the female version of Steph Curry. The way she passes the ball like a dude. She really does. And she sees the floor great. Even though I do think she needs to improve her left hand, She really does. And I think that's a really easy fix, relatively. If you just work on an offseason, work on that left hand, work on jumpers as well. Because we see Caitlin Clark pulling up from Steph Curry range with ease. I think work on her mid-range game, work on her free throws, and absolutely work on her defense. She got to do that. And I think, there are weaknesses like that where she's got to guard, WNBA players who've been seasoned in there for 10 plus years in WNBA. But how is Caitlin Clark going to do in the WNBA? I think she's going to come in and average 25 plus a game. Yes, 25 plus a game in the WNBA. I think that's what she's going to do. She's going to come in, put up crazy rookie numbers, probably break all the rookie records when she does get drafted by the Indiana Fever. I can't wait for that. I really can't. I think she's going to do great. Like girls like Camellia, I think she's going to do great coming from South Carolina. She's projected to be a top 5 pick. I think she's going to do great in the WNBA. And women like Angel Reese, Paige Beckers. And I think Angel Reese, she could improve her game as well, improve her shot. I think Angel Reese, if she creates a jumper in the WNBA, she could be lethal here. And I think Angel Reese is a top 5 pick, but at the end of the day, Caitlin Clark is the best women's basketball player right now. Absolutely, dude. No women are pulling up like Caitlin Clark. No women are creating off the dribble, the separation. And we know Caitlin's favorite move is that crossover to her left and then just step back and shooting that three, creating that space. It doesn't matter if they're taller than her. She's still going to get that shot off. But I'm saying driving to the bucket. I think Caitlin Clark can go to the bucket more. She's kind of becoming so three happy where it's like, I'm going to chuck up threes. And that's just kind of like the modern day basketball now. It's like, hey, you guys can throw it into your big man, but hey, if we're shooting threes, we're hitting our threes. We're hitting half of our threes we shoot. We're end up going to beat you guys at the end of the game. That's just the new wave of basketball. It's a three happy, and that's what it is. And I think Steph Curry really caused that effect to where it is today. I think basketball, that's great for basketball. Back when I played, back in like 2010 time, when I was in high school, that was unheard of, dude. Like, if you were shooting Steph Curry threes, you were getting taken out, dude. You were literally getting taken out and being put on the bench. Now, all of a sudden, 10 years later, a decade later in, it's like, hey, we want you to pull up for 35. Even if it's contested, if you miss it, but if you continue to hit some of those 35 three-pointers, you're not going to get taken out of the game. And I think that's great. Have the green light. Caitlin Clark had the green light all year. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight up. She had it all year, and I thought for a brief moment in the championship game, I thought, Iowa could have really, stuck to this game plan. They were up by 11 early. South Carolina battled back, but South Carolina has great role players, and they hit their shots. That's the difference there. We saw Kate Martin, miss some jumpers. We saw Hannah miss some free throws later in the game. Even, but at the end of the day, it's just like, I wouldn't even get that far. It's crazy, with Caitlin Clark, because we have to, give respect to the role players. But let's be honest here. Without Caitlin Clark, the role players, they're not gonna, do anything really. Let's be honest here. That's what Dawn Staley said. She said, you know what? Caitlin's gonna put up 30. We know this. Just like Angel Reese said, Caitlin Clark was going to put up 30 on them in the championship game. It was the other players that they had to stop. The role players from missing their open shots, missing their threes. Everything all added up. But at the end of the day, South Carolina by far was the best team in the country. That's why they never lost the game. And this game was relatively close, even though they won by 12 points. But at the end of the day, this was a really close championship game. It was entertaining, millions and millions of viewers because of these women that are really star-studded, like Caitlin Clark. I'm telling you, and anybody that hates on Caitlin Clark,